We love getting your questions, so we want you to keep them coming via Facebook, Twitter, and on our webpage. Who knows, we might just answer your question here in the studio audience next. Today on an all-new Daily Helpline. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome J.R. Martinez.
Well, you know, I was 19 years old when this happened to me, so of course I wanted to date every girl.
Take us back to the night of the shooting. What happened?
I feel like it ruined my life.
What about me? Can I have a moment?
That's what I want, my moment.
You loving you will fill you up.
How do I get my son to stop spanking my grandson?
Love you, Mom and Dad, but woo, I could get some spankings.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Helpline. I'm Miles Adcox.
And I'm Spirit. Today we have a great guest joining us. He's an actor, New York Times best-selling author, motivational speaker, and veteran. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome J.R. Martinez.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, pleasure.
It is an honor to have you here, okay?
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you didn't bring the mirror ball trophy, though. That's what I wanted to
did
see.
Not, because it's in me. It is in me, yeah.
You know, and it's so funny that you say that because you have a great quote on this book that just captured my heart. You say, people need to understand and accept that everything we go through in life will prepare us for our own big explosion.
Yeah.
I think that is so profound. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, you know, I was 19 years old when I was injured in Iraq, and I had to go through my own process like everyone else that kind of goes through any kind of trauma or adversity, and I went through that process, but I had to come to a place of understanding because people started to say to me, wow, there's no way that I could have gone through what you've gone through. There's no way I could have survived. And I said, what makes you think that at 19 years old, I was ready to go through something like this?
Wow.
What really prepared me in life?
Yeah.
But when I really sat back and I thought about it, it was all, like in my book, I talk about my childhood and the things that I've seen, you know, as for example, like my mother's struggle, you know, my mother being physically abused, moving around a lot, dealing with being bullied, you know, because I was an outcast and I was like the positive kid and doing all the right things, you know, and gangs and drugs and violence were around me. And I noticed that all of those little things that you wouldn't really pay attention to, and there were little things, essentially developed my core and made me strong. So when I was knocked down at 19 years old, my core was strong enough to sit back up.
Yeah, and look at you now.
Yeah. And I think that's the ultimate message that I try to pass on daily to people is that don't ignore what you may call the little things that you go through on a daily basis, the adversity. You surviving that is ultimately making you stronger. So when that big thing is gonna happen, because guess what? Life is life, we're all human, it's gonna happen.
That's what I like about you. It's not what's happened to you, it's what you're doing with it.
That's right.
and you gotta get to that place, and you know, and people, and something I've kind of learned too is I'm so big because my life was almost taken. I'm so big on like, live now, do it now, stop procrastinating, go after it. But then I gotta catch myself too and be like, well, you know, I went through a process in recovering emotionally. Forget physically, emotionally, mentally, I went through that process. And I got to understand and realize that other people have to go through that same process as well. That takes and take their time. You can't just expect someone to just have a phone call, you know, yesterday and today be completely fine and have all this amazing spirit, you know, when they come to work. And you know, what's funny is, it's not funny, but it's people that need to kind of realize and pay attention to this is that you're not alone in this world. There's millions of people in this city alone. There's millions and trillions of people in this world, but there's a lot of people that can relate to you.
We've got some guests that really need to hear that.
Absolutely.
So let's get right to it.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay, so our next guest is Annie. And Annie suffered a horrible tragedy. She was shot in the leg by her husband 5 years ago, and she's still suffering from the aftermath. Now, before we go any further, we want to just remind everyone, and we want you to be aware that this segment contains some material that may be unsuitable for some viewers.
My husband, Daniel, shot me through the leg when I was 2 months pregnant. It went through here, and it came out the other side, and exploded into the door. I was scared to death. The whole duration of my pregnancy, I was in pain 24/7. I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair for the first year. My foot hurt constantly, and as the years have gone by, it's actually went up to my ankle now hurts. My right knee will go out, and now my left hip has arthritis in it, and my left shoulder from using a cane. Right now it feels like somebody has a lighter underneath my foot and is just burning it, like all underneath and all on the top. Before I got shot, I was a very happy-go-lucky person. I felt beautiful. After the shooting, I feel like I am not normal compared to everybody else. I see all these beautiful women with normal legs, high heels. I feel very ugly all of the time, and that my foot is like a red light beam that everybody's just staring at. I can't help but be angry at Daniel for what happened to me. I would love to get past the sadness and move on. More than anything, I would love to move on.
Welcome, Annie. I can already see the emotion. And what was it like to watch that piece?
It was hard.
Yeah.
There's a lot I'm dealing with, and that hit like every point of it. It's every day, and it bothers me a lot because I feel like I'm not normal. I feel like I see all these beautiful girls walking around in high heels, and I feel like I can't do that.
Well, heels aren't the only thing that make a beautiful girl.
Come on now.
I mean, look, I see a lot of girls in heels, and not everyone can pull them off. I mean, so I'll just say that from the very beginning. I mean, I think you still are a beautiful young lady. I think you absolutely are. But I mean, I understand the feeling of being so focused on something that happened, you know, physically. And a lot of us people may be watching this right now at home or everywhere here and saying, well, it's on her foot, like, why is she making a big deal about it? And it's like, but I understand that feeling of how you think that it's all over your body and the whole world sees it, and that's what they're paying attention to.
Yeah.
And that's normal. It's normal to go through that process. But you have to come to get to it. You have to slow it. Because how long ago did this happen? I'm sorry.
It was 2010.
2010. So it's been 4 years. About 4 years now we're going on.
And it happened when you're 2 months pregnant.
Yes.
And you couldn't use painkillers.
No.
Because of the pregnancy.
Yes.
And you flatlined during delivery.
Yes.
And you could only hold the baby while on your hands and knees because you couldn't walk.
Yes.
And you had a mini stroke after birth.
Yes.
Because of a torn artery. And you felt like a bad mother because of the disabilities.
Yes. I couldn't hold her. With my first child, I was able to pick her up, do whatever I needed to do. You know, I was a full-time mom, no problem. My second daughter, from the get-go, every time she cried, I had to have Daniel go get her out of the crib, bring her to me. I had to be sitting down. If no one was around, I would have to crawl on my knees to wherever she was and pick her up. And I would just be holding her on the floor. I had all of my jeans were torn on the knees. And I feel like I feel like she didn't get as much attention. As my first daughter, I feel like I let her down. All through the pregnancy, I didn't sit and enjoy feeling her I never, like, I look back and all I can remember is the pain in my leg. And I can't remember feeling that beauty of pregnancy. Like, I wish I could go back.
The most proud, one of the most amazing moments of your life where you can sweep in and help somebody enter the world and you were helpless.
Yes.
I guess a great thing to focus on is the fact that, listen, you know, you have another child, you know, and how old is that child now?
The first one is 6, almost 6, and my daughter, youngest, is 4.
It's 4. So at least now she has someone else to kind of be there and to kind of, to an extent, play with her and do those things that I know you would want to be able to do, you know? And you know what I've learned, and there's no certain time frame that you have to kind of say, I'm going to get over this. By the second year, by the 4th year, by the 6th year, I should be over this and I should move on. There's no specific time frame. Everybody has their own time frame. But you have to kind of find a way to look at the optimistic side of things. One, you can't care about what other people think. You have to let that go. I mean, it's something I had to, and it was hard for me to let that go because I was 19. I was so focused on, I was always called handsome, and now I wasn't handsome. And would I ever have a girlfriend? I didn't have any kids. Would I ever have kids? You know, and luckily now I have a beautiful, healthy 2-year-old daughter. You know, I had all these questions in my mind, but to allow myself to get to that place, I had to accept that I can't make everybody happy. Even if I was handsome, I still wasn't gonna make everybody happy. Like, I had to just let that go and not worry about everyone else, and just and focus on me and what makes me happy and what makes me healthy. Then I had to start make the choice and decide not to be a victim anymore in a moment that essentially gave me a disability, which I don't necessarily like that word. I personally believe that if you make the choice to adapt and make the choice to survive, you ultimately diss the dis and disability, and all you have left is ability. But that's a choice that you have to come to a place and you make. You have to get to a place and say, you know what? Even though I wish this never would have happened for everybody involved, but at the end of the day, I can look at this and say, it only happened here. It didn't happen here, it didn't happen here. I can still be involved in my child's life. I can still do things. I'll just have to adapt and do it differently than I did the first go around.
That's right. I want you guys, this is great. We're going to keep this conversation going, okay? So hold on. Annie's husband is going to join us when we come back. We'll be right back after this. Coming up.
I refuse to hold them. I refuse to be in the same room as them. I refuse to be around them. I don't even like looking at them.
We love getting your questions, so we want you to keep them coming via Facebook, Twitter, and on our webpage. Who knows, we might just answer your question here in the studio audience next.